right, we should be, let's see.
Let me silence my phone.
Okay. All right, I think we are live. Let's see. Yep. Just make sure. Okay, it shows that we're live. Let me make sure we're live on the page. Yep, we are. All right. So let's get started. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of I Survived. As you know, I Survived is a series of what happens when individuals take the necessary steps to overcome the unpredictable and harsh circumstances of life. We highlight overcomers who rise when most people fall down. And these exceptional men and women have a lot to share about finding their new version of normal on the other side of turmoil. And today is no exception. We have Dr. LaJoyce Brookshire with us today, and I am so very honored that you have joined us and taken time out to be with us tonight. So first of all, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm so excited about this because I know that there are so many different layers and levels to who you are as a person, and your journey and your story. So I know that this is going to touch a lot of people and reach a lot of people and be good information for a lot of people. So let's just jump straight on in, shall we?
Yes, let's.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I am from Chicago, from the
From
south side of Chicago.
Chicago, South
Yes, I
Side
am.
Chicago.
South side.
South Side.
It's
So
like your
how long did you
championship.
live there? Your whole life or
My
most of your
whole
life?
life
Your
until
whole
I
life.
went to college. And
Mhm.
then kind of after college, I kind of never went back.
Okay.
Just
Got
for
that.
very, very, very briefly, long enough to be on the radio at WJPC,
Uh-huh.
Johnson's Publishing Company station, doing
Okay.
news. And I then after that, I moved to the East Coast and I've been here ever since.
So how do you like it?
I love living on the East Coast. You know what I like about it the most? I like that you can be anywhere in 5 hours up and down the Eastern Seaboard.
Hmm.
Like whatever floats my boat. Like we're going to go to DC, we go to Philly, if we feel like eating seafood, we may drive to Boston.
Yes.
And I just was in Vermont last week. At the top of this week, I
Uh-huh.
was in Vermont. It's a 5 hour drive. So like in 5 hours in like any direction, you can be in so many places. And you could drive 5 hours and not be out of Illinois.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I enjoy that part about East Coast living.
Yes. So when you so you left, after shortly after college, and you just, I mean, it's, I guess there is a difference between Chicago and where you're at now, but both of them are fast paced. So was it
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
easy to get adjusted to?
New York City is incredibly fast paced. You know what it took me a while to get adjusted to was the subway,
Yes. Yeah.
the smell of the city.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't as pleasant.
Yeah.
It it was very grimy and very dirty.
Hmm.
And so a lot of people think that cities are grimy and are dirty, but I was finding that New York was like really over the top. And I'm not New York bashing, I'm just saying.
Right.
It was an observation to the point where I wrote a 7-page poem about my observations about New York City that then became a novel.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, I would love to read that.
Yes, it was called That Place because I used to always say, "Ooh, that place is crazy. Oh, this place is crazy."
That place.
And then when
Okay.
I finally relaxed in it, I had a plan. I was going to stay in New York for 6 years.
Mhm.
And I figured that was long enough to cut my teeth, gain my experience.
Mhm.
And then I was going to go back to Chicago, become a real estate mogul, buy
Okay.
some buildings and
Uh-huh.
rent them out. and move back into the room at my mommy's house. That was the
Okay.
plan.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
so did that happen, and if not, what happened? Who are you today?
That did not happen.
Uh-huh.
I met this guy who is the topic of what we are discussing today, and it changed my trajectory. So I didn't get a chance to get back to Chicago like I wanted, but I did do a lot of things in the interim, and they were just notches in my belt because I was preparing to leave.
Mhm.
So in the preparation to leave, it turned out that I stayed.
Okay. And where did you meet this guy at?
I met, I call him what's his name,
Okay.
because I don't want to fool around and call my husband that. Okay,
Right.
so my husband now.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I call him what's his name. But I met him at Queens Broadcasting Center. And I was, at the time, I was working at Sheridan Broadcasting Network, which is now AURN,
Mhm.
American Urban Radio. And we were working at One Times Square Plaza. It's the building where they drop the ball.
Yes.
That's One Times Square Plaza. So I worked in that building.
How amazing.
And uh, I met him after I got off of work 2 nights a week. I would go teach speech at Queens Broadcasting Center
Okay.
to people who wanted to be on air. So I went that day. It was interesting because that day, the day before I met him, it was January 31st, January 30th, I met him. So on January 29th, I decided I was going to take a sick day.
Okay.
You're at work, you're like, I'm not
Uh,
coming here tomorrow. I'm going,
right. I'm gonna be sick.
I'm
Chill
gonna be sick.
tomorrow. Okay, gotcha.
Okay. So I'm going to my part-time job
Mhm.
and I'm going to be, and then that's all. So that day I called in sick. I slept late,
Uh-huh.
washed my hair.
Uh-huh.
And then when it was time for me to get dressed for class, I put on some leather pants and a red silk blouse and high heels.
Yes, honey. Okay.
But if I would have been coming from the other job, I'd have had a ponytail,
Yeah.
gym shoes. You drag into your second job, okay?
Yes.
But that hair was bouncing, flowing, and I lured the enemy.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was walking past I went to make copies for class, and he
Mhm.
was in the studio. And
Mhm.
I saw him and I was like, oh, who is that?
Hello.
And so I went to the director while my copies were being made. And I
Mhm.
said, who is that in the studio? And he said, oh, I'm gonna introduce the two of you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Y'all two. He's a really nice guy. I said,
Um,
okay, all right. So then he introduced us after class, and he had made, unbeknownst to me, the owner of the studio, who was a New York City radio jock, he made arrangements for him to take me home to Brooklyn. And we were like deep in Queens. And I said, "You gonna
and
take
you
me all the
didn't
way to
know
Brooklyn?"
him at this point.
No. He said,
Wow.
I'll take you to the Poconos if that's where you live.
Ooh,
And I
he
was
had
like,
game.
and I looked at the guy like, is he for real? And he said, don't worry, he's a Boy Scout. And I was like, okay. So I said, let's go, let's roll. And so all the way we talked all the way. And he was humorous, funny, and everything. So then the very next day, we're in our little studio working. Well, our big studio, it was a big studio. We're working, preparing for our show for that week. I used to write, be one of the producers and write for the show. It was called Top 30 USA.
Uh-huh.
It used to come on syndicated radio. Donnie Simpson was the host.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So that was a show that I did. And so we were preparing for our weekly show. And all of a sudden on the radio, we heard LaJoyce Hunter. I'll say his name. Steven wants you to know he's coming for you, ready or not.
Ooh.
And then they played Ready or Not.
Oh, wow.
I was like, and everybody was like, who is Steven? Who is
Right.
Steven? And I said, some dude I met yesterday. Like, I
No.
just met this dude. And then he had it synchronized perfectly. And then after the song Bugsy, that was the announcer.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, that was for LaJoyce Hunter from Steven. He wants her to know he's coming for her, ready or not.
Wow.
I was like, first of all, who is this dude? I thought he worked at a car dealership. What in the world how could he get to the hotline to tell Bugsy to do anything? So I
Exactly.
called Bugsy up and like,
Oh,
okay, how come,
what's up with this?
what are you instigating here?
Yeah.
And I was dating a guy from the station who Bugsy didn't like. So he was like, I'm glad to see, I would rather see you with him than that knucklehead. I'm like, you leave, okay, all right. So he instigated it. And everybody was vouching for this guy. You know, he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. No sooner than the record went off the radio, here come a dozen roses to the office.
Now I've seen this in the movies, okay? I've seen how you can orchestrate and coordinate and synchronize these series of events, but I've never heard of it really happening.
It happened. He
Wow.
synchronized that.
The
And
pursuit
then
of happiness type of stuff.
my office mates were done. We were like,
Wow.
ooh, our roses. You must have done a number on him.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, the girl gave me a ride home.
Wow.
And so when I called him to thank him for the
Mhm.
roses and the dedication. He said, may I take you to dinner tomorrow? And I was like, I was like, okay, sure. And so we met, and I met him at the place, and then he goes under the table and pulls out another dozen roses.
Wow.
So we having lobster and champagne, and so he takes me home. It's all good. So then it just became this whirlwind.
Mhm.
Working in the entertainment business, I always have to be somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
this was my job. I'm an entertainment reporter.
Right.
And so he became my new hot plus one.
Mhm.
And everybody was like, and he was a sharp, snazzy dresser.
Was he?
Oh, yes, very snazzy. So, and then the people who knew him, but he also was a part-time producer for the Quiet Storm program for Von Harper in Japan.
Wow.
Von Harper had a show in Japan. And so he was one of his producers for that show. And so that's why he was at the studio in the first place, the broadcast studio, learning.
Wow.
But ironically enough, and I said, I've never seen you at the studio before. He said, yeah, I was in the hospital and I missed my final. And I said, the reporter, why were you in the hospital?
Exactly. That was my question.
Exactly, right? He said, bleeding ulcers. I went, bleeding ulcers? How old are you?
Yeah.
And he went, 33. I've had a lot of problems in my marriage, and I'm separated, getting divorced, and I've had a lot of stress on my job. He said, but all that's about to change now that I met you.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, all right, so if you say so. So, I'm not believing any of this. Okay, I'm just. It's not that I'm cynical and I am a romantic, but I was just like, yeah, all right.
Right. We'll see.
Yes, we shall see.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Wow. So here it is. He has just really brought out his best game, his I mean the best, okay? He really did a number. And so at this stage, and he said he had the ulcers, and so it's just kind of still new and innocent at this point. So
mhm.
when did things get serious, and how long were you guys together?
Things got serious like very quickly because we were spending every day together, because literally I'm going somewhere every night, Sunday through Thursday. The
Okay.
industry is like Sunday through Thursday.
Yeah.
Nobody does anything on Friday. Nobody does anything on Saturday because we tired by then.
Sure.
Sunday night was a good night to have things, and a lot of labels and such had showcases and that kind of thing. So we were running 5 nights a week
Uh-huh.
and hanging out. And so then he kind of like moved in with me, but every time he would leave something, I would like pack it up and send it home with him like the next day. I was like, you ain't putting your stuff in this, don't put no in here. Like my mama said, no, I don't do that. So yeah, you're not living here. You're not changing no address. You're not leaving no clothes. You're not, no.
Absolutely.
Right. So, and then one time we were at his house where
Mhm.
his mother, because he had lived with his mother, because he had moved out from with his wife months before he even met me. And then we were, had a big dinner and was drinking champagne. And he had an engagement ring in the bottom of my champagne glass. And so it went from, that was 5 months into our relationship.
Uh-huh.
So it went from the getting to know you phase to now I'm planning my fabulous out of town wedding.
Wow.
Yeah.
So here we are 5 months later, this bliss of a feeling and relationship, and you guys get married.
We get married in Chicago on December 1st, which is World AIDS Day.
Wow.
How ironic is that?
Wow.
And when we said in sickness and in health, one
Oh,
tear came out my eye.
wow.
And I was like, okay, what's that about? Because I was like, I'm not going to cry. I'm not messing up any makeup. We're not ruining lashes. I had on an ivory velvet dress because it was December.
Yeah.
I was like, if I cry, that's going to drip on my velvet. Not happening.
Not happening.
One tear pops out. And I'm like, okay. And at the reception, I didn't see this until much later, but you know, the videographer goes around and gets best wishes from everyone. So his two sisters were in the wedding, and the older sister said, when he gets sick, don't send him back to our house.
And this was in the video?
This is in the video. And the younger sister said, he's your problem now. Thank you for taking him off of our hands.
Wow. And they were serious.
They were serious.
They were not laughing and joking.
No. And the mother said, see, I told you about all that worrying, Stephen. Everything always works out in the end, wink, wink. So later it unfolds, I put all this together, that all of these are signs and things that, you know, because you're blinded. First of all, when you start having sex.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
When you start having sex, you are blinded to things that are in front of you that you could probably see.
So you feel like there were signs?
Yeah, a lot. There were a ton of signs.
Yeah.
When he would play when we got married, and then when we got married, we went to Hawaii. His mother paid for us to be gone 15 days on a honeymoon to Hawaii, and she wanted us to stay 20 days. She cashed in some kind of annuity to pay for it. Right? And she called my parents and asked if they would kick in and pay for another 5 days because she really wanted us to stay 20 days in Hawaii.
What was that about?
Look, my mother told her, LaJoyce has been all over the world. And if she wants to go back to Hawaii, she could do it on her own money. We're paying for a wedding. I can tell you emphatically the answer is no.
Absolutely.
So, and then I said, when she was asking about it, but I had already told her no, because I was like, I don't have the kind of job that I can be gone 20 days.
Right.
You know, this isn't about, you can put some money in my pocket. I have to produce a show.
Yeah.
Like now, I got myself covered. I did a couple of scripts and they're going to cover me for the other, but I can't be missing in that seat for 20 days.
So the answer was just straight up no, but she went to your mom anyway.
She went to my mother anyway.
Yeah. And
sign. And on the honeymoon, he started acting like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like, I was like, who is this guy? Like, he was being extremely rude to the to waiters.
Really?
And so much so to one waiter that I was just like, told the waiter, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And tears popped out of my face because I was like, why is he acting like this? Who is he? Just you call this well done? You call just acting a fool. And the waiter kneeled down in front of me and took my hands and said, is there anything I can do for you?
For you, right.
And I was like, no, I'm going to be okay. And he said, are you sure? Wow. I said, I am. I promise you. So, it was a lot of all kind of demeaning things that were starting. He was trying to verbally abuse and was really trying to do a thing on my self-esteem.
Yeah.
And I was just like, dude, I don't know who you think I am, but you need to go back to the first day we met and remember that girl.
Recall that in your mind, huh?
I am still she.
Hello?
Chick from outside of Chicago.
Yeah.
Let's get that straight.
Absolutely.
So there was a strength there. And actually it was actually God girding me with the right words. And, he was very combative all the time. And I'm not combative, I'm real easy. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm real easy breezy.
Yeah, yeah.
But he was just like, I was like, oh, you looking for a fight? You're going to find one. Because I got suspended 14 times and expelled. So, I mean, I do know how to fight.
Absolutely.
So, okay, with hand and with mouth.
Hello.
So, so I was just like, don't pick with me.
Don't do it.
Like, why would you want to do that? But when we got back home and back to our apartment in New York, it was just a whole lot of that. And then when we were married 21 days, their family house burned down.
Wow.
His mother died in the fire.
Are you serious?
And his sister had to jump out of the window on fire. Wow. And the other sister walked out of the front door with a 3-year-old son. And so this changed a lot of things.
Absolutely.
He fell down on his knees in the house when we got the phone call and said, who am I going to tell all my secrets to now? And I said, okay, get dressed. And when we were heading that way, he had this road rage, like playing chicken with another car, like trying to hit another, like in the middle of the street, in the middle of the night. I was like, it's like screaming out the window, my mother's dead now. I don't have nothing to lose. Come on, come on. I was like, are you crazy? Wow. So it was like a lot of this self-sabotaging behavior. And, just going through the whole thing with the family and the funeral and the mama dying and, splitting up everything with the house and tearing down the house and selling the property. And it was so much.
Wow.
But then 2 years, then that was 21 days into the marriage.
That's what I was going to say, 21 days.
21 days.
Yeah.
And after the wedding in Chicago, his mother brought home my wedding gown. And so it burned up in the fire.
Listen.
He brought the wedding gown because the garment bag was intact. Really? And then we opened up that thing and that ivory dress was singed. And I thought, oh, okay, God, what's this about? And it was like, God was like, hold on. But when we were going through important papers, my parents came, of course, we were going through important papers and my mother found a little slip that said it was burned on the edges. And it said HIV test and it had his name on it. She called me aside, she said, come here. I look what I found.
Your mother found this?
My mother found this.
Wow.
And she said, look what I found. And she said, what's this about? And I said, I don't know. And I when he was by himself, I went over to him, I said, what's this about? He said, oh, it's an HIV test. I've had one kiss me on my forehead, put it in his pocket and kept moving. And so I didn't ask what were the results. So he said, everybody's had one. I was like, I haven't. So let me pause right here.
Right.
When I told my mother this, and he said, everybody's had one. My mother said, I haven't. Have you? Ooh. Looking at me, have you? I said, no, I haven't. And she said, okay, we'll see. That's mommy. We'll see. And then I didn't think anything else of that piece of paper until we were in California. His thing was that he wanted to find somewhere else to live other than New York. He wanted to leave New York after he got this money from his mother's death. And he wanted us to go live somewhere else. He had an urgency in that. So we went to Atlanta, to Charlotte, to Virginia Beach, to California. Where else did we go? We went a lot of places. And he booked all of these trips at one time. He paid that travel agent $10,000 for all of these trips that he wanted to take to go different places to find somewhere else to live.
Wow. So you were going all these places to find, like you were traveling from state to state to try to figure out where you wanted to live.
Yeah, this is what he wanted to do.
So, and somebody asked a question, did they know? And I believe they're asking if, oh, hey, Kimberly Kent. I believe that she's asking if his parent or if his mother and sister were aware.
Yeah,
Especially, I would have said definitely only because of that video.
yes, I started putting that together later.
Yeah.
But when we were in California looking for somewhere else to live, and I had made it a requirement that we only go places Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So leave Thursday night after work, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, come back Monday morning in time to get to work. Because I was like, I'm gonna take all these days off work. I won't have a job. That was he was hoping for that. But when we were in California, he got really sick. And when we came back, I was like, you need to go to the hospital. And when he refused, he said, I'll go in the morning. And he was like blue. And I kept checking on him all night. I was like, he's not getting any oxygen. He's blue. And his mother was a nurse. And she used to always say, don't ever go to an emergency room at night. The better doctors are there during the day. So that stuck in his head. He was like, I promise we can go in the morning. I was like, if you make it, like he was sick. So we get to the hospital and this doctor asked him, has anyone ever said to you that you had HIV? Child, you would have thought it was World War III up in there. He went off so tough. He was like, are you a good doctor or not? Are you crazy? Are you asking me something like that? Have you taken any tests? How dare you ask me something like that? Blah, blah, blah. So I was like, kind of like, yeah, that's like
a normal,
that's not normal. And he was like, I'm just asking. You got, he said, well, I'll tell you what we know is that you're very sick and you're going to be here till we figure out what. 40 days later, they call me on a carefully orchestrated family meeting to tell me that he has full-blown AIDS.
Not HIV.
Right, not HIV. That he had a T cell count of 4. And he said, literally, that's clinically dead, but he's still alive and we don't know how.
Wow.
So they said, we're going to have a lady to come in. And I said, well, how long have you all known this? It took y'all 40 days to find out that he had AIDS?
Right.
Like 40? Like, I've been sleeping in a chair here. Night after night. I've been helping people. Y'all come in here all hazmated up. We're talking 1990, Rita. They were coming hazmated up, goggles, gloves, the PPE, and I'm sitting in the chair with a dress. Oh, you need to do that? I'll help you do that. Oh, no problem. I'll help you turn him. Oh, you need that? I'll wash him. Right. I got on a dress and no gloves, and I'm sleeping in a chair, and y'all can't tell me. So this is where I think that the HIPAA law goes too far.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, because you can't tell me that I don't have a right to know.
You do.
When I'm the wife.
Yes.
I've already been sleeping with you 2 years.
Yes. Wow.
At this point, before we find out. So I'm thinking that's like whack. And so then I said, okay, so who's going to take my blood and tell me I'm negative? And the doctor's like, no, you don't understand. We're going to have a counselor come in here and talk to you about how you can have safe relations from now on. I was like, yeah, send her in here.
So I can send her back out. Now y'all want to talk. 40 days later, now y'all want to talk. Okay, got it.
You want to tell me how to have what with him? I hope he had enough.
Because that's it. That's all. So did he know? So obviously he knew because his family knew. So
that's the whole also lie story. So the lady comes in and she's like talking about how to have safe sex. And I tell her, I don't mean any disrespect in what I'm about to say. That's my favorite line for when I'm about to, and he said, uh-oh. Like, cause you are crazy. You telling me to put my faith in a condom that leaks, expires, and must be kept at room temperature? You've lost your mind. I'm not giving him anymore. I'm not even kissing him. And she was like, well, because I said, his gums bleed when he brushes. Did you ask?
Wow.
I said, I'm not going to be statistics, ladies and gentlemen, on the Nightly News, the first case of AIDS was transmitted through kissing because of bloody mouth. I
Exactly.
know he has a bloody mouth. Why would I kiss him?
Right.
It's over.
How
That's
did
it.
you track AIDS or HIV
Well,
that turned into AIDS?
don't really know. But, however, turns out that he did. I thought it was because he was dating a lot of women.
Mm-hmm.
He admitted to having extramarital affairs after his wife had extramarital affairs, and he admitted to sleeping around a lot before he was married.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't admit to being bisexual. He
Wow.
didn't admit to being on the down low. He didn't admit to that at all. But that's what it was.
Yeah.
He was on the down low. Because later, he would literally drive me through his neighborhood and point to houses and say, I got the panties. See that house? See that girl over there in the green shirt? I got the panties. Is that crazy?
That is.
And I was like, child, would you still quit giving me the tour today? I don't care.
Right. And I
I
don't
don't.
want to know that.
Your conquests. So
Right.
I thought that it was just he was being a womanizer. And his wife was also an intravenous drug abuser.
Wow.
Supposedly, that's why he divorced her. But turns out he gave it to her, and she died years after he did. And that was the reason for the split.
Wow. So were you, when you found out, were you surprised? Did you feel violated, angry? What emotions surfaced for you when you found out that he had AIDS?
I thought he was a victim.
Mm,
I thought he was a victim of his own circumstances.
wow.
That's what I thought initially, until taking care of him for 2 years and his condition, he got better because I nursed him.
Yeah.
Like after 40 days, after 45 days in the hospital, he signed himself out against medical advice. And we made an appointment for the doctor 3 weeks later. And the doctor was like, if you sign yourself out of here, you probably won't be coming back. I was like, he said, I'll take my chances with her. Because I was like, yeah, I can't do nothing for you in here. I got to get my herb going and stuff. And honey, I nursed him back. He had a T cell count of 4. Well, by the time we got back to the hospital, he was up to 50.
Wow.
And had gained like 25 pounds. They could not believe it. The doctor was like, I've never seen anything like this. What are you doing? I was like, a little herb, a little brewing, a little forcing them to eat this, a little forcing them to drink that. He said, and it's all disgusting. But for a man who left the hospital against medical advice, and they said, if you leave here, you probably might not come back. He went back to work and everything.
And he came back better.
He came back better. And then when he got tired of doing what he was doing, everything slipped. And then he ended up back in the bed and everything. But I thought he was a victim of his own circumstance. It wasn't until 2 weeks before he died that I found out the truth. And I had been seeing the number 24 just over and over. And so 24 is significant to me because my birthday is September 24th. So I was just like, that's my birthday again. There's my birthday. But every time, like channel 24, everything was 24.
Right.
And I heard a woman of God say once that if you consistently keep seeing the same number or hearing the same number, it's not for you to play lottery. It's for you to look up that psalm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I looked up the psalm.
24.
Yeah, lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be ye lifted up, ye everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is this King of glory? The Lord strong and mighty, the Lord mighty in battle. Who will ascend into heaven? He who has clean hands and a clean heart. Spirit said, pause.
Wow.
Spirit said, who is poised to possibly go to heaven? And I was like, Stephen, so this happened on a night where he had had 5 seizures and was in the hospital. My parents were with me and we had been at the hospital all day, and I had finally come home and I had seen the number 24 for the last time. And so then finally, that's when I was like, okay, let me read the Bible and check this out. And then the phone rang, and it was the hospital saying that he needed a blood transfusion. I needed to come sign for it. And right before I went, I said, okay, I'll be right there. And then that's when the Spirit said, I deal with this 24 thing right now. So I sat down, I opened up the Bible, and I was like, oh yeah, lift up your heads, all you gates. And then I was just looking at the wall and the Spirit said, pause, who shall ascend into heaven, who has clean hands? And then the Spirit was like, pause. And I was just looking like at a plain wall, and it just rewound like a videotape. And it started with that videotape from the wedding. It started with the first day we met, and he lied to me and said he had ulcers because he was in the hospital. And then it went to that videotape. He's your problem now. When he gets sick, don't send him back to our house. And all of those things, all of the signs started playing to me. And I was like, well, why didn't you tell me? He was like, no, grasshopper. No, grasshopper. That's what I, in my sanctified imagination, that's what I hear God saying to me. No, grasshopper. Mm-mm. And then the tape just rewinded all these things. And I laid down on the bed. I said, well, the hospital has called for me to come and sign these papers. And if I fall asleep and don't make it there this night and he dies, oh, well, God said, if you do what you should, I will bless you.
Wow.
Over and over and over. Don't tell anyone what you discovered. Oh, and he said, also get the medical records. And I got the medical records, had this many from that when he was in the hospital 45 days, 475 pages. I started at the back. Spirit said start at the front. Patient admits having HIV. It was in my nightstand all along for 2 years.
And listen, so wait a minute. So, wow. So not only did he have the
when that
knowledge,
doctor asked him the question, do you,
yes.
He knew it was true. So when I left the hospital, he fessed up. Yeah, it did.
Wow. So what was that conversation? Did you have the conversation of why the heck would you not tell me? Why did you keep this knowing what you know? And if so, what was that conversation like?
He held on to his lie. I said, is there anything you want to tell me? Okay. So the wonderful Pastor Henzi came because my friends were coming from everywhere to help me care for him. So he had to have this procedure that was very touch and go. So Pastor Henzi said, I'm coming. So before he went into the surgery, Pastor Henzi said, Pastor Henzi said, kept trying to ask him, is there anything that you'd like to confess? And he was whispering it to him. Is there anything that you'd like to confess? Let's confess it now. Let's clear your heart and mind with Lord Jesus. Because I did tell Henzi.
Yes.
I did tell him.
Yeah.
And he said, no, there's nothing I want to confess. And Henzi asked him probably 10 times. He walked with him all the way to the door of the surgery unit. He said, Steve, is there anything at all? Let's clear your heart right now. He said, no, there's nothing that I need to clear my heart with. He said, okay. He said, LaJoyce, he's stubborn as all get out. He literally lied to me in my face. And he never fessed up to it. And I never treated him any differently. And I never told anybody else until I wrote this book. My mama was like, I'd have killed him dead.
You and your mama both, okay?
Yeah, my mama
you had there's so many things are coming up for me. One, even with the signs, what justification allowed you to pardon the signs?
28 years old, always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Yeah.
The little pressure from the family.
Right.
When you gonna give me some grandbabies? Let me say something to you. Back off of your girls.
Yeah.
I wasn't some hoochie in the street. I was about my business. I came to New York on a mission. I came to New York ready for service. I jumped in with both feet. I had my eyes on my goals. I made myself live on half my pay. I was saving my money to follow what I wanted to be a goal. And it all got twisted around in a blink. And I will say that that's what helped to excuse it away, being so excited, chalking things up to wedding jitters or wedding stress and, the stress of moving and finding an apartment and an out-of-town wedding and a long time away on a honeymoon and getting the apartment situated, and you don't want to come back to a mess and all of this going on simultaneously, the rigors at work and too many long hours. Yeah, that was the excusing
And
away.
it's easy to do, especially like you said, with love, sex, all of those are pretty big blinders, you know, and then you just chalk it up and you just dismiss and well, and you get the wells, and it's so easy to do. But you mentioned, you know, he had a down low lifestyle. Did you ever at any point wonder, you know, how many men he had been with? Because I know he was saying, as he was driving by these houses, saying, you know, I got those panties. How many of those panties were men? How many were women? Did you ever, you know, want to know that? Did you ever ask?
Um, I never confronted him about being on the down low. In fact, I never thought to ask him
Yeah.
those questions. I
Right.
never did. But when he died, well, let me go back up a second. The family, after he was diagnosed, got together to um have a little cruise. They got together to have a family meeting to say that we're going to say that he has stomach cancer. If anybody asks, everybody, stomach cancer.
So they had the knowledge of this,
Oh
but
yeah. So
they made
even
a whole story and
so
excuse.
right. So it was so easily lied. All right. So that was the lie we all told. And I felt that, you know, at the time, I'm
Mhm.
still thinking that he's infected because of his
Right.
consequences.
Right.
And I felt that he deserved to have his privacy. But baby, when he died, I was like, why am I protecting the privacy of a dead man? So I went on a little crusade. I
Hmm.
literally started knocking on doors of the women who he said he got the panties.
Wow.
And let me tell you what I
That's
discovered.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
I discovered all of them, maybe two, said that they had sex with him. The rest of them said, I mean, we went on a date, but we never had sex. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. I'm sorry, because I would preface it with, you know, I'm sorry to, but I want to let you know that Stephen had AIDS.
Yeah.
And because I felt that it was my duty. And praise God, I'm negative. You know, the hospital couldn't believe that I was negative because they kept thinking it was gonna be 2 AIDS cases. I was like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
We're like, well, first we have to counsel you before we could take your blood. I said, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going down the street to the Department of Health, and I'm
And
going to
I'm
tell them,
just, yeah.
y'all got an AIDS case up in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's my husband, and I've had lots of unprotected sex with him.
Yes,
And the hospital doesn't want to take my blood. I know they will. Honey, they start scrambling. And you know
absolutely.
how people start looking, and somebody said I was traumatized. I said, I'm not traumatized. I said, this is a Catholic hospital. I see all your little Catholic artifacts hanging up here. Who of you believes what this is? I said, this is how you act, and this is how you respond when I'm telling you I'm negative, and who's going to take my blood and tell me?
Wow.
Report,
Tell me I'm negative.
I believe the report of the Lord's, and he's telling me, daughter, go, thy faith has made thee whole, and you are free from all your diseases. Whoever is on my side, come over here. This is the demarcation in the sand. The rest of you stay over there, but you're not going to tell me. You're not going to tell me that I'm positive. I'm just la, 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 la. You're
Exactly.
not.
Yeah.
And I would never receive it. And they were like, he said, I told you she's deeply religious. I was like, I'm not religious. I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
End of story. Now, the rest of y'all who don't believe that, you got all these crosses and all this stuff and holding your rosary and singing and praying and doing all this stuff you're doing. Don't stand in it.
And how long were you guys married?
4 years, 2 years pre-disease and 2 years after.
And so all this time, you know, you guys have had sex. There's been some, I mean, plenty of exchange of bodily fluids. That's just, even if you live with somebody, it's just inevitable, but
Yeah.
intentional because you're married, of course.
Yes.
So, and you find out, you know, he's living, you know, this down low life. He has AIDS. You go back, you know, throughout the history of time where you replay the video of his mom and his sister. You replay your mom finding this piece of paper, the ulcers, all of these things are happening. And so now you have the absolute bottom line. He has AIDS. He's on his way up out of here. How do you separate an equal knowledge of medicine, because you are a doctor,
I
and
wasn't at the time.
but you had knowledge because you nursed them, and you that's always just been in you, it seems like. So
It has.
having an equal knowledge of medicine and of God, how do you separate, and how did your mind and your faith speak the loudest?
Mm. Well, I have to tell you that all I had was faith. At that point, when the days were really dark, God's hand was the only one worth holding. That's it.
Yeah.
Because I did not and could not listen to any other voice.
Yeah.
I only had to move with God because he was literally all I had.
Wow.
My family kept saying things like, my daddy, oh my gosh, you didn't sign up for this. This is not what he said. I'm coming to get you. Pack your stuff. When my family came for that first Christmas right after he was diagnosed, and my brother came, when we did our off-Broadway play, this is the best traumatization.
Yeah.
My father's like, boy, you know I wanted to pull out early. Why aren't you down here? Why aren't you dressed? Get yourself down here. My brother came down in his pajamas, and my father pitched a hissy fit. My brother sat down, put his feet on the couch. He said, he's on the coffee table. He said, y'all think I'm leaving my sister here with that knucklehead? You got another thing coming. I'm not leaving until nobody make me.
Oh.
And my brother stayed.
Oh, how sweet.
Yes, my brother stayed.
Nothing like the love of a brother.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Listen, it's worth reading the book to find out what happened. And
I'm definitely going to admonish everyone else to as well. But what in you did not, because I'm putting myself as best as possible with my imagination, because you can't ever really put yourself in a position like this. But I would be so distraught. So I wouldn't have handled it as maturely as you. And I know that with this knowledge, I would have immediately went into, why didn't you tell me? And you knew this, and I'm going to run down all the reasons why I know that you know, and why you did this to me. Because some people, even today, it's considered attempted murder when you know that you have AIDS and you have sex with somebody. So all of those things would come to my mind. And if I could come up with enough strength to just talk to you instead of beating you to death, I would just I would not even be able to have peace unless I really got all of that out. Like, what is wrong with you? Why me? Why didn't you say anything? Did you really love me? Because how do you love me knowing what you have, and then you were willing to give that to me? You were really willing to put me at risk for that.
So there were some revelations. The first revelation was this, that the wages of sin is death.
Yeah.
Period.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And I had to look back and take my responsibility for my actions. Wow. And my actions were, on day one, I told a lie.
That is huge.
I called in sick when I was not. And see, people keep saying you fall into sin. You do not fall into sin. You plan it, just like God did. The day before, I cleaned off my desk and I knew I wasn't coming the next day.
Wow.
I laid around, I fixed my hair, I put on leather pants and a red silk blouse, and I trapped the enemy.
Oh, my. That is huge.
I have to look at my responsibility.
That's hard to do.
It is hard to do. So when I look at the man in the mirror, I have to take ownership. And so I also made a vow before God and everybody in sickness and in health. And I think about that one tear,
Oh my gosh.
that one tear when I said in sickness and in health. And so I look at it as taking the vow. I honored it very seriously. I took it very seriously. And like I said, it was only 2 weeks. I only knew for 2 weeks. And I knew enough about him to know that he was not going to confess. He was going to lie. And it did not make any sense to battle with him.
What a horrible way to leave here, knowing that you know what you know, knowing the truth of the matter, and holding it and looking your wife in the eyes and carrying this weight to your death. What a
Well,
horrible way to go out. Why? And death, a lot of times that's your freeing spot. So when you know that you're close to death, when you know that it's a possibility or an option, that is usually the easiest time to say the worst thing possible.
it's called it's the mode of reconciliation.
Yes. Yeah.
And he had every opportunity to do it.
And he chose.
And when he chose not to, that's when I knew what I was working with. I knew that I was working with a narcissist. I knew I was working with a sociopath.
Yeah.
I knew that he had preyed upon me as someone who would care for him because I would honor the vow. He would always brag about my relationship with the Lord. Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Well, my wife prays on it. Well, my wife prays on it, and I was like, well, what about you? Where's your prayer? Like, pray for your daggone self. My
Right.
grandmother was this in the church. My mama was this. I said, when you stand at the gate of heaven, nobody's checking your Rolodex.
At all.
Get it right for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because my relationship with Jesus has nothing to do with you, I promise you. He used to come to church with me and make sure I wasn't putting too much in the tithe. I was like, touch it again. Because I do know how to write a check. You can't take that.
Absolutely. Wow. And before everybody, please share this. But before we get any further, will you let us know how we can get your book?
Yes, it is. Faith Under Fire, Betrayed by a Thing Called Love. It's available on Amazon.com and wherever books are sold. And there's also a digital format, and I'm going to be releasing the audiobook soon.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll do an
That's
audiobook.
major.
Audiobook is great.
Yes, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't, my mind just can't wrap itself. This story is so full of so much.
Yes.
And,
Well,
and the
I
fact
will
that
say to you that God is very real. He speaks, and he is more eager to answer than we are to ask. And I didn't ask why me, but God told me that he knew I would be his oracle. And he knew that I would tell everybody about the dangers and the traps, because HIV, this is in 1990. And in 1990, I didn't know to ask the questions that you better ask today. But unfortunately, we are still having, I have some statistics here. We are still having the same conversation because African Americans and Hispanics are disproportionately affected. African Americans accounted for 43% of the disease, and Hispanics and Latinos account for 26%. And whites decreased 8%. African Americans decreased 5%, but we're still 43% of the disease. And by region, the hot spot is Miami now.
really,
And South, that's right. And the Southeast, period. So they say you are more likely to contract HIV in the Southeast region of the United States than anywhere else in the country.
wow, I didn't know that. So with these statistics, okay, so 43% for African Americans, and then for Hispanic, it was 20 something percent.
That's 26%.
So of course the minorities hold the large. I mean, it's makes up just about the whole percentage.
Correct. And men who have sex with men are leading the charge on that. But we need to know that women are heterosexual women are probably infected and don't know they're infected.
Wow.
Because we have so many reasons why men can't stand in their truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because with Stephen C., all you had to do was stand in your truth no matter what it is. And you wouldn't have been tormented.
Yeah.
Because I saw God take him to the edge of death, snatch him back, and give him some more over and over and over. And I asked God, why are you tormenting him? Why is you so? God said, don't ask me. He said, stand still. I was like,
Okay.
I'm gonna stand still and move out the way. How about that? So it was something to watch. He had every single opportunistic disease. He had infection. He had his collapsed lung. He had a fever every day of more than 102. He was literally burning inside. He had the skin that looked like leprosy.
Wow.
Yes, he had sarcoma. That's called sarcoma, and he had the neuropathy in his feet. And he couldn't walk. So he had every single God, and every time he came
He
close
didn't
to
get
death,
away with it because what he did to you, he didn't get, and he probably didn't get away with it because of the grace that you handled it with.
amen.
Yeah. So there was no choice but for him to have to pay some cost.
Yes.
But it's just unbelievable. Because if you think about, I have had, a cold, or my husband has had a cold, very rarely, he rarely gets sick, but just sleeping in the same bed, I can catch a cold. But we're talking about sex, we're talking about kissing, we're talking about touching, we are talking about serious contact.
Yes.
And you walked away untouched,
Amen.
unharmed. That is
And
a miracle.
listen, I am covered by the blood of Jesus. I am not confused about that.
Yes.
I always say I'm God's girl,
Yeah.
and he has covered me by the blood of Jesus. And my girlfriend said, well, a lot of girls call themselves God's girl. You shouldn't say that because it might make other people feel. I was like, no, I'm saying, speaking my truth. This is my truth.
Yeah. And what I believe ain't got nothing to do with y'all.
Right. That's right. I am God's girl.
Yes, you are. That's
Yeah.
obvious. Yeah.
The story. And that I'm covered by the blood of Jesus, and I have a rock solid immune system. I have been living a holistic lifestyle since high school. And I am so a pain in the butt to my friends and family.
Yeah.
But I am consistent
Yeah.
with who I am in terms of telling people about how they should eat, how they should live their lives, how they should go to bed at 10 o'clock. Like all this is coming off and I'm about to lay in the bed.
Wow.
And just get and prepare to go to sleep.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So it is important for you to be able to maintain your immune system. And let me say this, HIV in the face of COVID. Here's what's not being dealt with.
Yeah.
They're not talking about and have not said to our communities that are more at risk even for COVID because of underlying conditions that we are at risk for COVID because of sex. We can transmit COVID through sex, through kissing. Yeah. It's droplets.
Literally. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Do you think that whatchamacallit was ashamed that he participated in a down low lifestyle at some point? Or do you think he just had too much pride to even say anything? Because for some that are watching, they may not know the symptoms. They may not feel like they really have a reason to. They may be too embarrassed to go get tested. But do you think that any of that could have played a part in his decision to take this literally to his grave?
Absolutely. It's a very big part of it. And one of the things that prohibits that is that in our community, we shame people for standing in their truth. See, I don't care what your truth is. Just do you. I didn't say I agree,
Yeah, yeah,
because I agree with God,
yeah,
and I love what God loves and I hate what he hates.
yes, absolutely.
But I love you.
Yeah, yeah.
So just stand in your truth no matter what it is. Let that make you free.
Yes, yes.
And we have, especially the church, let's talk about it. The
Uh,
church has traditionally shamed people for their choices. And
yes.
so people don't feel that they can be the fullness of who they are, and cannot fully stand in what it is they know that they are, or what they feel they're called to be, and without being shamed to death and
But there's not so much
bastardized and
shame.
talked
So by
about.
the time you want to, you feel like you would rather die than say what it is, than speak your truth. That's unacceptable on both parts. And then to even put somebody in that position, selfish. I see somebody on here said that he was selfish. That was so selfish. But
Yeah, it
you're
was
right. The
selfish.
church has made it so that their stance on lifestyles and the stance on what's right and what's wrong is so clearly um, stated with disgust and shame
That's right.
that you don't give people an option to even stand in their truth because they don't feel like they can ever get out. They don't feel like they're good enough. You've already told them how nasty, disgusting, trifling, and hellbound they are. So who wants to acknowledge a truth that's associated with that?
That's right. And who wants to sit under that kind of
Yeah,
teaching?
absolutely.
Why don't you love me through
Through it. Yeah,
my infirmity? Why
absolutely.
don't you teach me how to fall more madly in love with Jesus and let him work on me?
That's where I
Let
was
me
getting,
be
that's what I
on
was
your
getting
feet
ready to
first.
say. Yeah.
Right. We're so
Just
busy.
love me. Let God deal with me because the more you love me, the more I want to know about your God. But what you're saying and preaching about me to my face, I don't really want to know your God. But if you love me through, let me go to God and let God fix it for
That's
me.
it. Because Jesus is fix it.
He is.
He,
He
not
is.
you. And just because you say we don't need Adam and Steve,
Yeah.
or Evelyn and Eve,
Right.
even though we that may be our truth and we may believe in that.
Mm-hmm.
However, the way that you criticize
Mm-hmm.
and the way that you uh, call me out and the
Yeah.
way that you say it in anger and hate, there's no love in that. I don't see Jesus in that.
No, not at all.
He who is without sin, let him cast the first stone. So your sin may not be what other people's are. Your sins may not be what mine
Yeah.
are, but believe me, they are sins. So I think that if we get more onto the love one another and love people through it and stop judging people, like
Yeah.
my pastor would always say, don't you dare judge a person who comes in here with a skirt too short.
Mm.
Don't you dare judge a person who comes in here and does not know the correct protocol. Don't you dare
Yeah.
judge them. If you think their skirt is too short, then you buy them one that you feel is the correct length.
Oh, absolutely. If you're going to open up your mouth to talk about it, open up your wallet to back it up.
Say it.
Period.
That's it.
So you were talking about having a strong immune system, which is amazing. And you said since high school, this has been something that you've lived. What charged you to become a natural pathologist?
Naturopathic doctor.
Oh, you're a naturopathic doctor. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And a naturopathic doctor uses everything in nature to keep you well, using no medicine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I became really interested in this journey when I jumped on the became a health nut,
Uh-huh.
so to speak. But I just noticed that I felt better. And
Mm.
that was enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was enough for me. And then my skin and my hair and everything, you know, everything just started doing better. And I could not disagree with the results.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you for the comment that you made when we first got
I
on.
was
You
getting
said,
ready to say that again. It's evident because I'm like, you look like you're 12.
I am 57.
and and you don't look like you're 5 or 7. So I just wow. And
Yeah.
coincidentally, 7 plus 5 is what?
Hey,
Okay, so yeah, you look extremely young.
Well,
Well,
thank
you
you.
are young, but you just look a lot
But you know, I
younger.
know, I
Yeah.
understand what you mean. And the goal is to maintain my health.
Yes.
And so then that helped to build up my rock solid immune system. So, but you can do four things right now that could change your health trajectory. And number one is drink a glass of water every hour that you're awake. This literally is my gangster water jar that I drink.
Gangsta water jar.
Gangster water jar that I
Gangsta
drink
water
from
jar.
all the time. And I drink see this is empty. So what's in that glass
Yeah.
was the last of this for the day. And then I go to bed at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Pee and poop when nature calls you to pee and poop.
Uh-huh.
Stop holding on to it. The new cancer on the block is bladder cancer because y'all don't want to pee.
That's true. What's up with that? That is so true. Even in my, like, our generation is just, I don't, yeah, we
I don't
don't.
know what's wrong with y'all, but anyway. Uh,
That is so
but,
true. We will go all day without peeing and rush
no, that's
home.
crazy. But
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who are pee shy, and there are a lot of
Yeah.
people who only like to pee at home,
Right.
and all of that, cancel it.
Yeah.
Get you some cleaner, squirt it in the toilet first, especially in the face of COVID. Peroxide will kill COVID in a toilet,
Wow. Okay.
okay, or on a toilet seat, and then exercise.
Yeah.
And those are four things that'll help change your health trajectory, and they don't cost you anything.
Nothing. Beautiful. I'm definitely going to do all four of those things.
I
Wow.
challenge you to do that.
Yeah.
So the people who are on today, if you would like I'm so committed to helping our people and our community that I would like to offer you all you have to do is say that you were here today, a $99 consultation on your first consultation with me, and a 1 hour phone consultation, and just say that you were here. So send me an email at drbrookshire@msn.com. I think
That
I
is beautiful. And I'm gonna post your
No, it's not msn.com, outlook.com.
outlook. Okay. And I'll post that. And then and I'll get the link for Amazon as well and put that and I'll pin that to this video so everybody listen. If you have to get off of this live now and go get the book, go do it. It's okay. Bye. Go get that book. Because wow, if you heard even 2 minutes of this story, it is absolutely mind-blowing. It is so mind-blowing. And I just really, 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 really urge you to get the book. Faith Under Fire. What a perfect title. Wow. But this is truly something that you won't be able to read anywhere else. This is an unbelievable story of survival, of faith, just of knowledge, of wisdom, of grace. Because if I had to write a book, my story would be totally different because I would have cussed him out, whooped his tail. I would have fast forwarded him to Jesus myself. But there are so many lessons in this story that you have shared that has really helped me even want to deal with people differently, even if they're wrong in a situation. But love covers a multitude of sin, and your love covered. Yeah. And I believe that he knew that you knew.
Okay. That's a lot of people say that,
I do. I do.
and I never showed him anything other than love.
Absolutely. And I think that was internally, not from your actions and what you displayed, but I think mentally and internally, I think he probably said, oh, she knows.
I think that what we have to do is, honestly, when we come up against adversity, just keep giving more Jesus.
That's beautiful. And you're not just saying that, you demonstrated that. So we have to take you at your word. We can do it because you proved it.
We can do it. And we can do all things through Jesus.
Absolutely.
He strengthens us, period. End of story.
Yes,
I'm more than a conqueror, but so are you.
absolutely. Amen.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. This has been so amazing. There's a lot of people on here that are, I said there's a lot. Wow. There are a lot of people on here that have just said how powerful your story is. And Christina Green, she said, I'm always trying to beat somebody up. You're right. God has to work on me on that. I am a
I
little
told you I was
pistol.
suspended 14 times. I wasn't lying about that. I was a bad kid. And you know, when I go to speak somewhere, they always want to bring me the honor kids, and I talk to them, and then I go tell something to go get the principal and go, where them bad kids?
Yeah,
Because
that's
I
not
was one of
toxic.
them. You got them
Right.
shoved in a room somewhere. No, they're the ones who need talking to.
Absolutely.
Go get
Absolutely.
them, bring them here. When I went back to my school, used to go, I graduated from Eastern Illinois
Uh-huh.
University in Charleston, Illinois, undergrad.
Okay.
And before I went, I told the dean, uh,
Uh-huh.
used to be our Africana studies teacher when I was in school, but then she
Okay.
became the dean of Black students.
Uh-huh.
And I said, gather some students together who are having trouble, so I could just talk to them and tell them how to navigate, get through school. I
Wow.
got in that room, it was nowhere to sit. These children were, I was like, oh, y'all having a problem?
Right.
Okay, everybody sit down right where you are. Let's talk.
Everybody.
Oh my Lord. We got to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. And you spoke to them that day, or how did that
Oh,
work?
yes, I spoke to them that day. Yeah,
Wow.
the campus had brought me back to speak when I did soul food. And then, and I had, this little side meeting with the Black students.
Uh-huh. So, and
Yeah.
tell us about soul food, because I know some people are not going to know, or they just don't know, but tell us your involvement with soul food.
Okay, I wrote the novelization that was based on the movie. So I wrote the novel based on the movie for Soul Food. And I was the first Black woman to novelize a major motion picture.
How does that feel to say that? Exactly.
Honestly, in 1997, when it happened, it feels terrible to still be saying we're first at anything.
Ah, what a point. Yeah.
So
Right.
it's bittersweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But wow, what an amazing thing to be able to say, because not only you can say that,
Yeah.
nobody else can say that. That's just something that you have accomplished that nobody else can say but you. That's powerful. And
Yeah.
oh, I see where you put the
Come on.
information. I'm gonna put the link. I just posted the link to Amazon where you can click on it and purchase Dr. LaJoyce's book right now. Please, everybody, go get it. I'm going to. This is such a powerful and amazing thing. I just want to dig a little bit deeper and read for myself. So,
Yeah, read it, read it. Then I'll come back, we'll do a book club.
yeah, woo, let's do that. We have to. That is so amazing. Yeah, that just got me excited. Okay,
Okay, so it was a
that settles it. We are going to do a book club. Wow. Yes, we're gonna have to do that like now. Let's not wait. Everybody can purchase the book. When you purchase the book, we'll set up something to where you can be a part of this book club. Yes, that's going to be amazing. Okay.
okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Rita. I
Thank
appreciate
you for
you.
being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so amazing, so sweet and gracious. And I really, really appreciate you on so
Thank
many
you so
different
much.
levels.
I appreciate you. I love this platform. I survived.
Thank you. And thank you to C-Life Productions so much for creating this and giving a platform for people to share their stories and help others overcome. So
Thank you,
have a
Chris.
great night. Thank
You
you,
too.
Chris. Have a
Bye-bye.
great night. Bye-bye.